Good morning, everyone. I'm Mary Ann Sinopoli, the Outreach Librarian, and on behalf of the entire library staff, welcome to the Eastham Public Library. We are so happy to have you here this morning. I'm curious to learn, may I see a show of hands, please, how many of you are visiting the library, our library, for the very first time? All right. So there are quite a number of you who are here for a first visit. Sadly, we don't have time for a complete tour of the building for you this morning, but I do want to start by telling you a little bit about the space that we're using here today. We're in the Greg Turner room, our largest meeting room, and we use this space for lifelong learning programs and lectures, author talks, film presentations. We have a huge pull-down screen that covers much of this front wall. We also have concerts here, community events like blood drives, children's entertainment like puppet shows and magic shows, and so much more. But beyond all that, this is one of 3 gallery spaces in our building. You'll notice that there's some artwork displayed along the walls. This month's exhibit features oil paintings, but every month our exhibit changes, and over the years we've had a wide range of artistic expression on display here, everything from watercolor, photography, mixed media, sculpture, textiles, weaving, quilting. They're on display here, and also in the hallway, our red hallway gallery around the corner. And not only do our local patrons have an opportunity to view all this art, but we receive so many visitors, out-of-towners and tourists. They come through our doors and enjoy the art here too. So we hope that you'll visit us again on another occasion to explore all the other offerings in this award-winning building. Not only do we have an amazing collection of books and materials, but we also have state-of-the-art technologies and beautiful reading spaces and study carrels overlooking Depot Pond. Inside your folders, you'll find my business card with contact information, and feel free to call me or drop me an email. I'd be more than happy to give you a tour of the building if you let me know that you're coming by, or if you just by in the neighborhood spontaneously, swing down to the lower level where I have my office, and if I'm free, be happy to give you a tour. So before we begin, a couple of housekeeping items. Restrooms are along the hallway around the corner. In the event of an emergency, we have 3 exits from this building, from this space, directly in front of you outside this doorway. There's an exit leading to the outdoors. There's a doorway in the back of the building, directly to outside, and of course the entrance that you used when you arrived. And lastly, if you would kindly silence your cell phones and keep those out of sight during the program. I want to thank the Friends of the Eastham Library, our library association, for their generous support of this program. To rephrase an old Beatles tune, here at the Eastham Library, we get by with a lot of help from our friends. We are so excited about this impactful presentation this morning called Changing the World, One Poem or Song at a Time. Poetry has long been used as a powerful force for societal change. Poems concerning social justice have emboldened people to protest war, decry inhumane living conditions, challenge established authority, demand an end to oppression. We have a wonderful group of local artists here with us this morning who have raised awareness and make calls to action through their social justice-inspired writings. Each one will present an example of their work to you and then share a little bit about their writing process as well. So to begin, I am happy to introduce our first presenter, Christine Ernst.
Thanks, everybody. Nice to see you here this morning. My name is Christine Ernst. I'm 56. I'm a writer. Beth asked me just to tell you a little bit about myself first. I've been writing my whole life in some capacity, but really seriously for the past 22 years. I started writing seriously because I got sick. And my way to understand difficult, challenging things is to write about them. And when I finished being sick, I realized that I had a document and some information that could maybe help other people, which is how I became a performance artist as well. So lately I've been writing a lot about violence. And it was interesting when I started to write about violence, I realized how much violence is in my own speaking. And as an exercise, I might ask you to pay attention to your speaking and understand how much violent metaphor is packed inside of it. The piece today I'm going to read is about gun violence, and I hate guns, but my speaking is filled with them, because when I start to pay attention, I'm blown away. Well, shoot. We're locked and loaded, folks. If I give it a shot, do you think he'll go ballistic? She has a hair trigger. They're a loose cannon. We dodged a bullet there, you old son of a gun. This was a great surprise to me, and indicative of not just the overall problem that we can see that is violence, but the deeper dailiness of it that we don't even pay attention to. So the piece I'm going to read is called Shooter Man, Sir. I wrote it in 2013 as a response to the massacre at Sandy Hook, which in many ways turned me into an activist. I've performed it many times since. Sadly, I've had to revise it over the years, not just the statistics and numbers, but also as my own style in writing evolves, it has changed. It's prefaced by a quote from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, the namesake of the high school at Parkland, where 14 people were murdered in 2018. She said, "Be a nuisance when it counts. Do your part to inform and stimulate the public to join your action. Be depressed, discouraged, and disappointed at failure and the disheartening effects of ignorance, greed, corruption, and bad politics, but never give up." So this is Shooter Man, Sir. Dear Sir, dear mostly white man, dear some college man, generally conservative man, dear sportsman, dear neighbor, dear old man, young man, disenfranchised man, paranoid man, prepper man, drunken man, desperate man, easy way out man, dear frightened man, I am the citizen, the human, the friend, the mother, the voter. I am the scary woman they told you about who wants to take away your gun, who requires you to explain your bloodlust, who asks you to analyze your deep desire for lethality. Because there are many ways of not murdering someone if you just want to feel safe. We have the technology, but a non-lethal deterrent, that's not as much fun, is it, cowboy? You got the power, you're the man, you're going to show me, teach me a lesson, show me what you're packing. Is that a gun in your pocket, a flag on your pickup, a chip on your shoulder, or are you just happy to see me? Your government, sir, is not a tyranny any more than it ever was. Your Second Amendment, sir, was written by men who held slaves. Do you really need to hunt, sir? Have you ever tried a crossbow or a camera? And I have to break it to you that you are not safer with your gun, sir. You are 22 times more likely to kill your own kid or yourself than the intruder in your fantasy. There was an armed guard at Columbine, sir, did you know? And a police force on campus at Virginia Tech, armed bouncers in Orlando. Most murderers buy their guns legally and have never been stopped by the likes of you, comic book shooter. It is harder to purchase Sudafed than a semi-automatic or a senator. And you have the cops and feds outgunned by a factor of 79 to 1. 335 million people in this country, sir. More than 400 million guns in civilian ownership. Did you get that? I know. I know. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. Guns just make it really easy for people to kill people. And when a military-grade assault weapon is your average active shooter's tool of choice, guns make it really, really easy to kill lots and lots of people, sir. So guns don't kill people, sir. I understand that, sir. You kill people. And when you can't swing a cat in this country, sir, without hitting a gun owner such as yourself and his stockpile of high-capacity magazines, don't you think that access is the problem? That the most powerful lobby in the history of this country is the agent? And bloodlust, sir. Bloodlust. Your need, desire, fetish, sick fixation, fear, deep, dark longing to be able to kill someone is the conversation we are somehow not ever having. Does it make you feel good to be deadly, sir? What's that about, sir? No, I'm no crisis actor, sir, but come on, you got an answer for me? Well-regulated militiaman, numbers too big, maybe? Do I bore you with meaningless statistics? Go ahead, vet my facts, background check me, invent a false narrative of mental illness. Conflate your perverse argument with patriotism, debunk me with junk science, go all deep fake and conspiracy, insult me with thoughts and prayers, make the truth not the truth. Well played, sir. When really, sir, I think you probably just need to evolve. But I don't have time for that, because the numbers don't lie. 38,390 people shot to death last year. Can't all be wrong, can they, sir? 4,368 were kids. Check your bloodlust, sir. 19 fourth graders in Texas can't all be wrong, can they? Check your bloodlust, sir. 14 kids at Stoneman Douglas, 20 first graders at Newtown. Check your bloodlust, sir. The math of slaughtered thousands is inarguable and holy. There have been 113 mass shootings already in the U.S. in 2023. Just today, sir, 106 people in this country will die from gun violence. By the time you go to bed tonight, sir, when you're brushing your teeth, by then, 12 children will be dead from a gunshot wound they received today. I know, sir. It's hard to keep track. I know all these senseless deaths. But, sir, do you ever think of Sandy Hook? The bathrooms where those kids were murdered? The bloody corridors at Parkland? Sir, the classrooms at Uvalde, those terrified children, desperate teachers trying to keep them safe. The way in which they all died, sir. You ever think about that, sir? Sir. Thank you.
Our next presenter is Sally Ty.
Good morning. I do what I can, as much as I can, when I can, as I breathe. Hello, my name is Sally Ty. I'm a wife, a mother, a daughter, a sister, a niece, an aunt, a grandmother, a woman, and a friend. I've lived on Cape Cod, starting in Provincetown since 1973. I now live in Truro, the suburbs, for over 37 years. I've worked as a hostess at the Lobster Pot in the Boat Slip in Provincetown, an educator, an administrative assistant in the schools of Provincetown and Truro for over 26 years. I've been a home health worker, a counterperson extraordinaire at Mojo's in Provincetown, a board member, Independence House, Outer Cape Health, Outer Cape Against Domestic Abuse, Women's International League of Peace and Freedom, Art Peacemakers of Wellesley. I'm a representative to the Assembly of Delegates of Barnstable, representing Truro. I've been an actress in over 250 plays and readings, a poet. I've been in 4 movies: The Night of the Living Dead, The Emperor of Broadway, Art Theft, and Ribbons. Cape Cod for Racial Justice, I'm a member. I graduated college when I was 60 years old, and I was fired from a waitress job at Nappy's after one day. When asked by Beth Sizer to perform a social justice-related poem for a project-based learning activity, I jumped at the chance. I would be able to perform my work, I thought, about writing prose or a poem. Then it hit me. No, not the poem, narrowing exactly what social justice platform I would choose. There are so many, and many close to my heart. Then I just decided to write an outline to help me decide which medium, prose or poems, but what subject. The United Nations states social justice is the view that everyone deserves equal economic, political, and social rights and opportunities. The Oxford Dictionary states the objective of creating a fair and equal society in which each individual matters, their rights are recognized and protected, and decisions are made in a way that are fair and honest. The 5 principles of social justice are access to essentials, equity, fair and just, diversity, participation, and human rights, protection and respect in society. They didn't fit my poem or prose, so I wrote another list. Voting, healthcare, and my passion about climate change, refugees and immigration, body atonement, racial justice, guns, LGBTQ+. Okay, out of all of that, what do you think I came up with? Reflections by Sally Ty. While sitting on the ground near Gull Pond one day, wondering about my life in general, I closed my eyes and I began to dream of my being. The Atlantic Ocean trip was not designed to be a pleasure cruise. Strangely, although all expensive had been prepaid, the freight, which was my ancestors, received a voucher stamped guaranteed work for the next 300 years. The accommodations were not first class. Passengers boarded in chains, and when they were placed in storage holds, noted no toilet facilities were available, so they were kept in their own bile. I shifted. Attention was not forthcoming, so the blood that dripped from their chains was allowed to cake on their naked bodies. The leather straps were so tight around their necks, the straps wept from pain. Too tight, too tight. While the belly of the vessels echoed horrible screams, it continued to sail. Its white, bellowing sails wept, eyeing the tortured bodies of the cargo below. I could feel the rhythmic motion of the sea beating music in my ears, combined with the moans and the cries of the shackled bodies attached to the ribs of the ocean liner, the mighty slave ship. Many were lost during the crossing due to, say, lack of proper diet, medical services, and unfamiliar sea conditions. Yet many made it to America, and millions were born into a white-dominated existence, some to be sold for profit, others kept for profit, some beaten into submission to accept their plight. I woke from my dream trip, eyes wide open. I sat for a long time with tears streaming down my cheeks, wondering how it would have been, how it would have felt if my ancestors had chosen their own passages, or if they had arrived here on their own chosen vessels as immigrants. Oh, what a different reflection then. Thank you.
Our third presenter this morning is Jarrell Watkins.
Good morning. Good morning. How y'all feeling? Feeling good? Word. So today, this morning, I want to do a couple of different things. Before I actually read my poem, I want to talk about how I started writing poetry in general. So, I'm 30 years old. 15 years ago is when I first started writing poetry, and I was like, oh, maybe this is something that I would do for a lifetime. But before that, when I was in middle school, so I was, say, 12 years old, 13 years old, I was only writing poems in my notebook, my journal, and I never thought about them something that people would take seriously. occasionally I would go to teachers and turn my poems in for assignments, and they would say, "Oh, your poems are pretty good. You should consider submitting some contests, etc." But I was kind of bashful, kind of shy, and I didn't want it to put myself out there like that. So, but I still wrote my poems, and I still, did what other people was doing at the time. But it wasn't until I got to high school, freshman year, I was 14 years old, and then I saw this guy who later became my friend. His name was DJ, and he was known as the poetry guy at our school, right? And so everywhere he would go, he was either doing a verse, reciting poems, or he was just really excited about poetry, and he was 16, 17 years old. I thought he was weird. But I was kind of enamored by his presence, the way that he talked about language, how he was excited about literature. But I secretly kind of was also jealous of him as well, too. Towards the end of my freshman year, he heard that I wrote poetry, and he said, "Oh, you're coming with me to the open mic." I was like, "What?" "Yeah, you're coming to the open mic." He didn't ask me if I want to come to the open mic. He forced me. He dragged me to the open mic. And so I got to the open mic. It was an art gallery. It was an art gallery, and it was about 7 people in there, mostly white. And I was like, "I don't know if this is for me." He was like, nah, man, it's cool. Get to the mic, read your poem." I happened to be last on the list, so I watched people get up on the stage, read their poems, and they really gave their all to it, right? This was a time in which we took 2 hours out on a Saturday night from 7 to 9, in which the only thing that mattered was our words, was poetry. And I was like, okay, now I'm in a group full of weirdos. But I loved it. I love the fact that we can come together, that we can recite our poems, and that mattered to everyone in the room. And so for the rest of my time in high school, I was just writing poems with my friend DJ. I wasn't thinking about trying to change the world. I wasn't trying to do anything about social justice. I just wanted to hang out with my friend. So that's how I started writing poetry. Now I'm 30 years old. I'm a poetry fellow at the Fine Arts Work Center. How many people has been to the Fine Arts Work Center? Show of hands. Well, hopefully you guys can come later in April. And so poetry has taken me to many stages. I competed nationally. I have done poetry in Japan. I have poetry in magazines. I have a book coming out. And so there's something to poetry if you give your all to it. But it doesn't have to be the world at first. It could just be one other person. So with that, I'll recite a poem. Of the white tee. Bruh, ain't a new white tee the most necessary dress to boom a black boy's joy? Don't he look so fresh and clean? His white tee barely kisses his knees, veiled by his name brand jeans with side of the heels of his Air Force Ones. Ain't this the gown for him to stroke down the block, past shorties rocking hoops around the hips and ears, past homies fixing a J and the laces of their J's, past junkies sucking the blues from a bottle needle dry. Want those folks dazzled by his gleam. Yo, don't he almost glow into an angel before a soul street light shines a halo out of the basketball rim under which other white tees will join him, and tossing the rock once swung between the archway of someone's legs and then flung by half court by a tee who's too short to play center but has a jumper that makes the whole backboard thunder. Don't the bird chest swell? For a moment, a breathlessness, feeling free in their white tees from the description that matches them all. These boys flock away as doves at the bursts of noise that sounds like anything but their joy. Thank you.
And our final performer this morning is the ZYG 808.
All right, somebody got my name correct. All right, I'm gonna do 2 things before I start performing. First, and second. All right, now I can move around while I talk. So, I actually, much like you actually, started making music seriously with, it was actually one of my cousins who we had started rapping together. His name's JJ. He lives out in California now. We'd started making tapes together just in my dad's basement on a laptop with a mic that we borrowed and some speakers that we borrowed from him. It was when I had turned about 14, that I was, really starting to want to say something with my songs. And then the year after that, I had also gotten into writing music. And since that point, the music has been, when I'm creating, what comes to me before the actual song concept or lyrics come up. And with the song I'm going to do today, it was no different. Freak Show. I had recorded myself playing the drum part, threw down a bass line, some keys, and then, played it for one of my other bandmates, Chuck V. We jammed out on it. He laid down the guitar, then wrote the lyrics with one of my bandmates and another one of my friends who lives out in New York. The internet's a beautiful thing, by the way. So, with a lot of my instrumentals, I'll have a working title while I'm working on it. Sometimes the title changes, and sometimes the working title ends up informing how I write what I write. So the working title for this track was Freak Show. So I just got to thinking, all right, Freak Show. What am I going to sing about? What am I going to write about? And then the first line came, welcome to the Freak Show. And I'm like, all right, I'll talk about reality, because, the old saying, reality is stranger than fiction. So I'm like, all right, let me talk about reality, my reality, and the things in my reality that made me fight for the things that I fight for and believe the things that I believe. So with that, here's Freak Show. Shout out to our sound man. And shout out again to Chuck V for ripping the guitar on this one. Make some noise for Chuck V. All right. The beat drop comes in. Welcome to the Freak Show. It took over the street. There's bodies everywhere, looking like it's Halloween. Shooting other people, they don't want to let us speak. Hands on my neck so I can't even breathe. We just want to stop dying. We don't want to lose our lives. Taking everything from me. I started with nothing. What can I leave behind? My friends and family. I'm living life like it's over, like we're finished already. There's somewhere to go, and that somewhere is burning. That somewhere is burning. Somewhere. Welcome to the Freak Show. It took over the street. There's bodies everywhere, looking like it's Halloween. Shooting at the people that don't want to let us speak. Hand on my neck so I can't even breathe. We just want to stop dying. We don't want to lose our lives. They told my grandpa to stay out of sandwich. Like my dad told me the same thing. Decades have passed and nothing has changed. Apart from the weather, it's really the same. We're still in the streets begging for our lives. Our grandparents fought the same fight. Imagine an honest student getting profiled. You don't have to, cause it already happened. So many times that I've lost count. Way too regular. Welcome to the Freak Show. It took over the street. There are bodies everywhere, looking like it's Halloween. Shooting at the people that don't want to let us speak. Hand on my neck so I can't even breathe. We just want to stop dying. We don't want to lose our lives anymore. Why the heck do they gotta treat us different? To them, between an animal and us, there ain't a difference. Hating on a young man strictly for his picnic. Put their knees upon our necks, then their bullets start singing. This ain't an opera, no Sinatra. People waiting on a helicopter, but ain't no helicopter gon' come. Rather bury us and carry it, vicariously scaring us right into a coffin and say we're the ones misusing life. R.I.P. Breonna Taylor, R.I.P. George Floyd, R.I.P. Elijah McClain. Justice for Jacob Blake. Walk to the Freak Show. It took over the street. There's bodies everywhere, looking like it's Halloween. Shooting at the people that don't want to let us speak. Hands on my neck so I can't even breathe. We just want to stop dying. We don't want to lose our lives anymore. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zig. Thank you to all our performers. Wow. What powerful messages you've conveyed this morning through your song and your poems. Can we have another round of applause for our local artists, please? So students, we want you to know that the Eastham Library is committed to community building. And this library building is about more than just books. This is a community space where we can share ideas, a forum where we can discuss important issues, and gallery spaces for us to exhibit artistic expression. And with all this in mind, we wonder, what matters most to you? We're facing so many social justice issues, and we're interested in hearing which ones you're especially passionate about. We'd like to know. So with that in mind, the Eastham Library staff challenges you to write a poem or a song expressing your passion for a particular social justice issue. And we invite you to display your work here in our gallery spaces through the entire month of May, so the community at large can have the opportunity to be inspired by you. History has shown us that young people are the change makers, forcing the rest of us to listen up and get on board. For instance, Greta Thunberg, Malala Yousafzai, Amanda Gorman, Tupac Shakur, just to name a few. Well, here's an opportunity for you to articulate what's important to you, to the community at large. What do you care about? What are you most passionate about? What can be done to help? Your voice matters. Your words have power. The power to inspire, the power to challenge, the power to change. How do you want to affect change? Through your own voice. And here's some other exciting news. The local poets and rapper that were here this morning will be visiting Nauset High and coaching in the classrooms alongside your teachers. And then the culmination of this poetry writing project will be a reception back here at the Eastham Library on May 9th to spotlight you student writers. On that day, you'll be visiting again with your teachers, and this time your parents, school administrators, the library trustees, the Friends of the Eastham Library will be invited to attend the event too. We are eager to read what you have to say through your poems and your song lyrics. Wow, time has really flown quickly this morning, and I know that you're going to be departing soon, but I do have a list of thank yous, so if you bear with me, we have a lot of people that contributed to this morning. Thank you, first of all, to our presenters, to Christine Ernst, Jarrell Watkins, Sally Ty, and the ZYG 808. Awesome, thank you. To the Friends of the Eastham Public Library, our generous supporters who have funded this program, and in particular to Debbie Abbott, Annie LaJoy, Camille LaJoy, and Kathy McDonough for greeting our guests this morning. Also, a thank you to Devin Baker, our town videographer, who has recorded this event for us. And thank you to Teresa Martin and Raphael Kowalczyk, who are covering this event for Lower Cape TV. Thank you to Beth Sizer and Jenna Margada, your teachers at Nauset High, for arranging and organizing this trip to the Eastham Public Library, and for their passionate dedication in sharing great literature with you students. And especially, most especially, thank you to you, class of Nauset, the Nauset class, rather, of 2026. Our change makers, we want to be inspired by your words. Thank you so very much. Those who strive together, thrive together. Together, let's change the world. We are happy that you are with us here today. Thank you for coming back and visiting us again on the 9th, And before you leave, we do have some refreshments at the back. If you have time to eat them here, wonderful. If you have to be on your way, they're grab and go. Thank you again, everyone.
When I open up, I'm angry and misguided. When he best, the First Amendment is provided. When I'm upset, I'm just told to be cool. When he's upset, he goes and shoots up the school. Feels like my fate has already been decided. Has little to do with anything that I did. This isn't paranoia or related to vanity. Just speaking my mind on obvious insanity. Yeah, I'm crazy and irrational. I have a short fuse and I also hate the Nationals. I'm always very angry. I should probably have ulcers. Local social setting is worse than having a cold sore. Less from my family or that girl I made the rap about you. Just a sack of flesh and bones that I don't give a crap about. Get away from me because my patience slowly running out. Take this as a warning. My name's Wolf will be this time for my classmates are asswipes and so are some of my teachers. Shunned because I'm a Gnostic and I don't trust preachers. Separate from human activity. I hate all you creatures. I don't trust most liberals and I wonder about feminists.